Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, even though this old dog don't hunt, this week we're going to make a gun rack. So let's get started. Okay guys, for this gun rack that I'm making, it's going to hold 2 rifles and then have some area in the bottom for storage. Now for the gun rack itself, I'm going to be making a couple of patterns. I'm going to be making a pattern for the 2 sides, and I'm going to be making a pattern for the top and bottom of the gun rack. The patterns are going to allow me to work with a flush trim bit on the router as we get into the build to clean up some of the cuts and everything that I make on the bandsaw, as well as I'll have these patterns for future use if I want to make more than one of these gun racks. You know, I may decide down the road to make a couple of more to sell or what have you. So it'll be good to have some patterns to reference off of. Now, the patterns for the side, the piece for the side, I'm just using 1/2-inch plywood for my templates. I said patterns, but let's call them templates from now on. Alright, for my templates, I got a 1/2-inch piece of plywood, it's birch plywood, and we'll get those patterns cut out. And then we'll transfer it over and start working on our actual work pieces that are going to be part of this gun rack. So let's go ahead and get in here and get started. It actually worked like a champ. Alright. Alright guys, well I had to use my router as a spindle sander because my oscillating spindle sander, it's down for maintenance, I should say. It's not really oscillating that well, so I'm getting it cleaned up. But in a pinch I needed to you know, get this piece sanded, and it worked. It was the first time I tried it. I needed to. It was, you know, when there's a need, you know, do what you can. I don't know about recommending it as an ongoing practice and all, but there was no problem and it worked like a champ. The only thing I can say is if you don't have a variable speed router, I wouldn't recommend it because that drum would be spinning way too fast. On my router, it's a variable speed and I had it cranked down to the lowest setting so it wasn't spinning that fast. And it did a really nice job of sanding the piece up. This is my side profile, and now I got to start working on the top template. Alright guys, now that the templates are done, I can go ahead and start working on the actual gun rack itself. And I happen to have some scrap wood left over from the last week's project, the jewelry box. And I had some mahogany left over, as well as some walnut. And so I thought, well what the heck, why not do a contrasting, you know, wood type gun rack. So for the sides, I'm going to use walnut. And I'll go ahead and get these templates double-sided taped onto each piece. And for the top and bottom, I'm going to use mahogany. I think it'll be a nice looking gun rack when it's all said and done. I'm going to take each piece over to the bandsaw, cut away a majority of the waste, but then I'm going to clean it up with a flush trim bit on the router. And that's what these templates really make things a lot easier because I can just run them right up along that flush trim bit, get them cut right down to size, and get them ready to assemble together. Having those templates really helped out a lot, especially with being able to run the pieces up on the flush trim bit and really just clean everything up. And once I got everything sanded and stuff, it really just started taking shape, and I like the design and the profiles, so I'm happy with the way it's coming together. Okay guys, as you just saw, I went ahead and drilled my pocket holes in the upper and lower shelf of this storage area, as well as the top and bottom brackets. All I need to do now is go ahead and glue and screw them onto the side pieces. Alright, with the two shelves in now, I can go ahead and flip it over and install the upper and lower bracket. Okay guys, for the back panel of this cabinet, since it's the back, I'm just going to use a piece of 1/4 inch birch plywood. And I'm going to just put a little bit of glue. And I'm just going to pin nail it into place. Okay guys, as you just saw, I went ahead and cut the drawer parts for the gun rack. I decided to go with a drawer over just like a little cabinet storage area. I think a drawer will look a little bit better on the front of this gun rack, and since the gun rack is made of mahogany and walnut, I decided to go ahead and make the drawer out of the same thing. So what I have is, for the front and the back of the drawer, I have walnut, and for the sides I have mahogany. And to be honest, one of the main reasons I did that instead of, all, say, walnut or all mahogany or what have you, is because I'm using what's left from last week's project of the walnut and mahogany that I had, and this is it for my walnut, and I had just enough to make the front and back of the drawers. I didn't have enough to make the sides, so I decided to go ahead and make the sides out of mahogany. Now, I'm just doing a simple rabbet joint here, on both ends. And I'm going to go ahead and get it glued up, get the drawer front made, get it glued and attached to the drawer, and then it's just a matter of tidying some things up, doing a finish sand on it, and getting a finish on it. Alright, let's get it glued up. Okay, we'll let this set up for a while I start working on the drawer front. Okay guys, to install the little leather strips, what I did is I made a couple of these little clamping blocks that are the same profile as the gun rest area, and they will pressure fit in there to hold that leather strap into place while the epoxy sets up. Now I'm not going to install them right this minute. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put some blue tape in this area here so I don't get any finish on it where the leather strip is going to go, so the epoxy will adhere pretty well. And then I'm going to go ahead and start finishing this, get a finish on it, and the last thing I'll do is I'll install the leather strips along with the hardware for the drawer front. Okay guys, I got the hardware on the drawer. Now the only thing left to do is glue on the leather straps. And you can use felt or anything you want, like I said earlier. I just happen to have a whole cowhide here from where I make straps and pouches and things. So I'm going to use some of that leather. It's English bridle leather. It's real supple and soft. Because, you know, you want to at least protect it with something, felt, anything, because if you got a really nice finish on a rifle, you don't want to mar that finish at all by it resting up against this bare wood. So you want to protect it some way that you can, and I'm going to use leather. As I said, I've got some of these little cutouts I made, little pressure fitted cutouts that I'll be able to lock these in and pressure fit them into place right where those rifle rests are, and it'll hold that the leather strips until the epoxy sets up. Alright, when the leather strip sets in, I left this part loose intentionally. But once the epoxy sets and everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm going to shave this leather down to where it transitions into the wood. And how I'm going to do that is just simply shave it down like so. Now I don't have any black dye right now. I'm out of stock, so I'm just going to use a Sharpie to color in that leather a little bit to make it blend, and then I'm going to burnish it. So I have a nice transition. And I'll do the same thing for this little top area up here. One of the things with regards to these leather straps, I forgot that I had some of this Tight Bond, Instant Bond. It's a CA glue from Tight Bond, and this is for wood, ceramic, leather, so on and so forth, and it works really well with the leather. And rather than having to mix a batch of epoxy up, because this epoxy sits pretty fast, rather than having to mix a batch up for every strap, I forgot all about having the Instant Bond, and I went ahead and did a little test strip, and let me show you this. I put some leather on some of the walnut with that Instant Bond, and that stuff is not coming off. So for the other 3 pieces, I'm just going to use the Instant Bond rather than the epoxy. It'll get the same effect, the same strong hold and everything. It cleans up with acetone just like the epoxy, you know, so everything will be fine, but it'll be a little bit quicker for me to use that rather than the epoxy, but you can do both. I had initially planned on doing all of them with epoxy until I remembered that I had some of the Instant Bond, which is, you know, it's real strong. It sets up in 5 seconds, you know, the initial tack, and so we're going to use that. Okay guys, well the gun rack is done. I've got all the hardware installed on the drawer as well as the hanging hardware so it can mount on the wall. I wanted something a little bit heavy duty as far as the hanging hardware because depending on how much weight, you know, is going to be on this. So I went with those little French cleat type hangers. They're called flush mount hangers, and they act as a little French cleat in a sense. One side goes here and the other side goes on the wall, and they connect together the same way a French cleat would. And they're real durable and real strong. I mortised them in so this gun rack sits flat up against the wall when it's hung up. The leather and everything is going to protect the guns. And the Instant Bond worked fabulous for that. The drawer holds plenty, there's plenty of room in there. It's not a big drawer. But it holds plenty of room for boxes of ammunition, shells, shooting glasses, anything that you could possibly want. So all in all, I'm real happy with the way it looks. Let's go ahead and hang it on the wall and see how it's going to look.